Space Marine, Space Marine specialists, chaplains, librarians, mechanics, doctors, and more.
Since no one watches Xenovids.
The reason I asked that is because I saw this and I was like, wait a second, I remember this thumbnail. He posted it in a group chat and it was very funny to me. It was peak. It was really good. Man, they didn't want to... That's lame. I guess we should watch some of these videos.
Today, we're talking Space Marines. Space Marines forever, baby. Nothing but Imperium. Die, Xeno, die. And since I refuse to do Iron Hands, we'll be talking about the various Space Marine chapter specials.
Why?
Today. These are the very cool and very...
Guys, why does he hate the Iron Hands? Do you know? The only crack I like consuming. Incredible, incredible. I'll make sure I shove a crack grenade down your throat. I'm sure that'll go over well, too.
Very special Space Marines who go above and beyond in the badass department and get to have occupations beyond just warrior. Like, they're still warriors, but they also get to be something funky, like Dr. Warrior or something. Basically, just the character units that aren't simply
MD.
officers. First off is the Adeptus Cook Forus. These guys are arguably the most important of all Space Marine specialists since, you know what they say.
He's pulling my leg here. He's pulling my leg.
An army marches on its stomach. Wait, that's not a real Marine. That's a dumb pun I wrote for today's sponsor. That's right,
there
Factor's
it is.
back to sponsor this video.
There it is.
Factor's a fresh, never frozen meal service. All of their meals are super easy to prepare, only taking 2 minutes, and they're all really quite tasty. Once again, I got a bunch of their seafood meals to try out, and their fish is
you
always
like seafood.
good. I'm pretty particular about the texture and moistness of my fish, and Factor always delivers. Get it? Of the bunch, I really enjoyed the gochujang salmon. The salmon tasted really good, and the sweetness of the gochujang was nice. I also really like the carrots. But every Factor meal is real food with real ingredients prepared by professional chefs and is dietitian approved. And you get a ton of options with their rotating weekly menu of over 100 options to fit whatever taste or diet plans that you'd like.
So I considered doing this, but for my birthday, I asked my friends and family. Gosh, this is definitely like a woman moment, but I asked like my friends and family, I said, hey, like I want to have like a bit nicer cookware because it will motivate me to do more cooking at home and work on my cooking skills. And they did get me stuff, which is nice. And it's fun because I have cooking things in pretty colors. I won't bore you guys with the details. This has always interested me. I've wondered how good they actually are. But at this point, I've committed to
get delicious meals delivered straight to your door.
Sorry, I had to have my woman moment where I talk about cooking.
Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code CrackDuckFB50 to get 50% off your first.
The cooking is going great. I made like a roast beef with like an au jus, like a sandwichy thing. It was really good. Tell us the color of your spatulas. Okay, it's actually kind of similar to this light green of his helmet. It's like between the two. It's like this kind of green.
Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year.
Acadian spatula. I didn't plan that. I just like the color.
Factor75.com to get 50% off plus free breakfast for 1 year. Anyways, though, with Adeptus Cook Forus out of the way, let's talk about the rest of these funky characters. First up, we got the aforementioned Dr. Warrior. Space Marine apothecaries are the field medics, medical staff, and biologists of the Space Marine chapters. Apothecaries are experts in Space Marine biology, and this expertise, along with the Space Marine's transhuman physiology, allows apothecaries to heal their brothers from grievous battlefield wounds.
I think he's got it done.
But if Dr. House can't save everyone, surely apothecaries couldn't either. So,
sorry, this is now very important. Are they color coordinated to the colors of your kitchen? Or is my mom weird? Or was just my mom weird about the colors? I don't really like have decorations. Like I have like a color, like a theme that I like, but the colors are in a set. You get them from like one company, so the colors are consistent. Isn't my kitchen pure gold? Well, no. You know, sometimes like there's too much gold in your life. You gotta change it up.
When a Marine is beyond saving, apothecaries have the authority to administer the Emperor's peace. They use a device called a Cartifex that drives a spring-loaded bolt into the wounded Marine's noodle and kills them. So, it's a literal bolt pistol. But when the bolt pistol isn't available, then I'm sure the bolt pistol will do. That or like a big rock, a boiling pot of water, or, I don't know, maybe like a sturdy pillow. All of those would also probably work. In addition to their field work, though, they also perform normal doctor duties and ensure the Marines of the chapter are nice and healthy. But perhaps
Ew, I'm concerned.
the most important apothecary duty is that of maintaining and safeguarding the chapter's gene seed. The apothecaries monitor gene seed degradation, manage gene stock, and are responsible of harvesting the progenoid glands of dead
The
space
gene
marines to
stock,
get more
yes.
gene seed. There's also the apothecary biologists who study xenos, but instead of administering painkillers, they administer pain to killer. That's to say,
Yeah, that
they
sounds
like
about
killing
right.
xenos. But all these duties makes them some of the most, if not the most important Marines of the chapter.
They save the gene
Next
seed.
up, we have perhaps the drippiest of Marines. We have the chaplains.
Oh,
These
yeah,
are the
they're
warrior
sick.
priests and spiritual leaders of
We got a blood angel boy right here. Look at him.
the chapter. Ironically, the role of chaplain originated in the time of the Great Crusade when all worship was outlawed. The role was officially established by everyone's
Mhm.
favorite Primarch, Lorgar, in order to tend to his son's psychological needs. And their drip was taken from a word bearer unit called the Imperial Heralds. Eventually,
That is a
after
cool
the
name.
Council of Nicaea, Malcador would issue the chaplain edict to appoint chaplains to enforce a psyker ban. These chaplains either came from legion ranks or were borrowed from the word bearers, and the use of chaplains remains in the present millennium. While apothecaries monitor the physical well-being of their marines, the chaplains ensure the mental well-being of the marines. Which means yes, your mental health would probably be taken more seriously in a Space Marine chapter of the grim dark future than it would be in the American workforce. Dark. I mean, even if they only care because literal demons will come out and eat them if they didn't, it's still nice that they care. Anyways, though many chapters don't believe in the Emperor's divinity, chaplains still frequently lead sermons and prayers. They aren't always technically religious, and many are just paying reverence to the Emperor as a powerful and inspiring leader. However, some are just full on religious. But for the ones that aren't, since the Adeptus Astartes was established before the Ecclesiarchy, they're grandfathered into being allowed to heretically believe that the Emperor isn't a god. And although they occasionally run into internal conflicts, the Ecclesiarchy and Marines stand on the common ground of fighting for the Emperor. So they have a long-standing truce. And to symbolize this, the chaplain's iconic force field Rosarius is often a personal gift from the Ecclesiarchy.
It's pretty cool.
In addition to their duty as spiritual leaders, they also serve as morale officers, lawmen, and advisors. They're responsible for checking on their Marines' discipline and faith. They also uphold the chapter's policies and cult. And finally, they offer advice to troubled Marines as well as tactical counsels for captains and chapter masters. But most importantly of all, chaplains work overtime to constantly aura farm with some of the best drip in the Marine ranks. Seriously,
Some of
they
the
look
minis are
so
sick.
good that people were questioning if Leandros was actually cool now. Now that's
You can look cool, but doesn't mean you are cool. It's not the same.
power. They wear jet black relic armor festooned with cool little Warhammery bits, and they have a badass skull mask. In addition, their signature weapon is the Crozius Arcanum, which is basically an evil-ass pimp stick that has a power field to wreak havoc upon the unfaithful. As such, they're one of the most, if not the most important Space Marines of the chapter. Then, for one of my favorite special units, we have some of the strongest, if not the strongest Marines.
I like that
the
sword.
Librarians. Librarians
cool
are
sword.
badass battle wizard space Marines, as well as literal librarians. They manage the Librarius, probe their fellow Marines' minds to test their purity and willpower, and finally, they of course fight crazy style. Being a trained psyker already makes you one of the strongest dudes in 40k. So, being a hyper trained veteran who's also a super soldier space marine is a lethal combination. Librarian recruitment varies from chapter to chapter, with some recruiting from psychically capable space marine aspirants, and others recruiting the most promising Primaris, not those Primaris, psychers. But wherever they come
Oh,
from,
okay.
space marine librarians
Interesting. I
are
never
trained
heard
in the
that one.
scholastic psychona. Here, they're trained to hone their psychic gifts into powerful abilities and to steel their minds against the insidious influences of the warp. And even when made a full-fledged librarian, the Marine continues to practice his skills and fortify his willpower to ensure that he doesn't fall to chaos. Space Marine librarians typically have a hierarchy within their chapter, and they climb the ranks as their experience and power grows. The first rank is a lexiconum, and they primarily work as record keepers. Then the codiciary manages the lexiconums and finalizes the reports.
Managers
Epistolaries
and
are in charge of warp
managers.
communication, similar to astropaths. And then on the top rank, the Marine climbed the corporate ladder far enough
I was
to
gonna
get
say.
over the boring paperwork and phone calls, and they can finally just go crazy style and blast
Crazy
heretics with lightning bolts and
style.
witch fire all day,
Crazy
every
style.
day. Pew, pew, pow. That's my interpretation of what a librarian sounds like.
It is.
And all day, every day
Nerd.
might be a slight exaggeration since they do have other duties, but as a chief librarian, going around kicking ass wizard style is definitely the coolest part. In addition, they also work as advisors and oracles for the chapter, which I should dip into some of their fantastical psyker abilities. In battle, librarians are forced to
good
be
night.
reckoned with as they
Sleep
channel
well.
the warp to shoot psychic blast, spit devastating witch fire, and use their precognition to predict enemy movements, all the while still being a crazy monster man with a sword. And outside of direct combat, librarians are an invaluable asset as they can help with communications, both long and short range. And outside of battle, they can act as backup navigators and use their aforementioned precognition to be an oracle for the chapter. I would imagine seeing the future is generally pretty nice for battle plans.
Yeah,
Then,
that would be
some of their
nice.
signature equipment is their psychic hood, which amplifies their psychic powers, as well as denying the influence of enemy psychers. They also have the Emperor's Tarot to read the future. And finally, they're equipped with potent force weapons, the most common of which are force swords and force staves, but it can really be any weapon. Force weapons are really badass and are essentially just conduits for psychic power in weapon form. This allows them to be some of the most devastating melee weapons of them all. And so, being some of the strongest Marines, as well as
biggest,
being able to
coolest
read,
guys.
these are some of the most, if not the most important Marines of the chapter. And finally, we've got the funky Red Marines. These dudes fix the chapter's Wi-Fi and hit stuff to fix it.
Yes.
That's a joke, but not really. Tech Marines are the mechanics and technicians of the chapter. Space Marine neophytes who are gifted in tech are trained to become Tech Marines. These aspirants are sent to train with the Auxilia Technologica Astartes under the Adeptus Mechanicus. With the AdMech, the aspirants learn all about technology, how to fix technology, how to maintain technology, how to love
Is it just a
technology,
toaster?
how to love technology, and
Whoa.
all other things technology.
Whoa.
Then, once their training is complete, they're inducted into the Cult Mechanicus, ordained, and then sent back to the chapter.
That's pretty
From
cool.
then on, they serve both the Space Marines and the AdMech, which means they're weirdos. With their chapter, they maintain the chapter's technology and heal the machine spirits.
Box not.
Despite their unquestionable usefulness, the Tech Marines are usually treated with suspicion from their brothers, both because they're big old nerds and because they serve the Adeptus Mechanicus. Despite this, they're still largely respected because they're the only ones who know the Wi-Fi password, and Apple Wi-Fi shares long-lost Archaeotech. The Tech Marine's signature weapon is their cool red armor, funky robot arms, and their Omniscient axe. The red armor symbolizes their ties to the
axe is so
AdMech.
cool.
Their servo arms help them with tasks, usually being strapped with guns and/or little servo claws to lend the Marines a hand. Get it? And finally, their
helping
usual
hands, yep.
armament is an Omniscient power axe, as well as the aforementioned gun arms. So, with their incredible ability of turning something off and then on again, the Tech Marines are some of the most, if not the most important Marines of the chapter. Anyways, though, those are the primary Space Marine specialists. They're all super cool, and if you're Codex compliant, then they add a nice pop of color. Or I guess lack of color in the Chaplain and Apothecary's case.
Well,
But regardless,
technically, white is the absence of color. The black is still, it's like all the colors.
let me know what your favorite of these guys is, and let me spice it up by asking you guys what your favorite to run on tabletop is. I personally like the Apothecary with Hellblaster since I get mad when I fail my hazardous checks constantly. But let me know which one you like. Anyways, thank you for watching, and thank you to all my awesome patrons who help keep the channel running.
Thank you.
As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and consider sharing to all your special friends. Thanks.
I got it backwards. What? But like, if you combine all the colors, it makes a black sludge. Okay, I was talking about pigments. So in terms of light, black is the absence of all visible light. In terms of art and paint, black is the mix of all pigment colors. He was talking about pigments, not light, so I was correct. We are just talking about two different things. Yeah, paint is not light in action. I'm going... Nope. Why would I be talking about light in this scenario? Oh my gosh. Nope. I'm not doing this. It's called Today is the Day I Fight chat. Yeah, I was talking about just regular pigments and colors and... Sorry, I got defensive.